Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Now, yeah, we're back with the Tower of God. Definitely back. Definitely going to be hitting onto the workshop's involvement in this next killer situation. Oh my, it's Yurik Mazino. Yeah, okay, right. I know. Need to get this right. I'm gonna calm down. Right, Yurik is here to threaten me, right? So come on, guys. Give me some support on this one. But anyway, let's get back to it. So at this point, we end up understanding the workshop. The workshop has been involved with a lot of the things in the story at the moment. We're only going to understand them right now as they begin to unfold into the story. So Ilma and Cassino are the two names. Hwoarang's real name is Ilma, or the name that he was first given is Ilma. Cassino and Ilma are both living ignition weapons. They're part of a program that was devised by the workshop to turn a human into a living ignition weapon, so that a person would be more powerful and more dangerous and hard to handle when it came to them climbing up the tower. The first thing to note about them is they are absolutely beastly when it comes to power. Hwoarang was used for his power to climb all the way to the 20th floor, at which point he stopped climbing, and after a while he heard a rumor that the Devil's Right Arm took the exam on that floor and he beat an individual named Hutz. And even though he called himself the Devil's Right Arm, his devil was in his left arm. So that was Cassino. And moving forward from there, that is why Hwoarang or Ilma joined the team to climb up to the next floor. So moving from this point, we get a lot of things coming in that's going to be quite controversial. Now, please bear with this. This is a lot to go quite harshly. Arwen had actually exposed a lot of things to Eywa about the 10 great families, and with everything that had been explained to her, she's now decided that she's climbing the tower with these members of her team to find out what they have done wrong and document it and bring it out to the public notice. Since she is a very powerful member of her family, they're going to listen to her, and there's a lot to go on with this whole situation. So yeah, that's the first part of it that I need to talk about on this side. So the next thing with the living ignition weapons, they started off with 99,000 test subjects. That's children born in the middle area of the tower. Now, being born in the middle area of the tower is a big taboo. You need permission to have a child in the middle area of the tower, and not all people are granted that permission, and only some families have permission on certain floors to actually have children. So this is why it's such a big issue. When children are born in the middle area, they are generally taken and given to the workshop as material, and they end up being used for experiments or whatever else that the workshop wants to use them for, and that's what happens to those kids, the abandoned kids of the middle area of the tower. Now, moving from this here, we find out that two of them survived, Ilma and Cassino. They were subjects number 2 and 99. Or 7, I'm not exactly sure on their subject numbers, I'm forgetting it at the moment. But anyway, they survived all of the experiments up to this point. They survived everything that needed to be done to them to increase the strength of their bodies. And from there, they were then injected with the living devil to make them an ignition weapon. So the next point which happens is Ilma decides that it's time for him to go and find his friend to find out what happened after the whole situation. And he moves straight away to go to Arlene's hand, where Cassino had shown himself. Now, Arlene's hand is a reference to Arlene Grace. It's a statue that used to be there that was destroyed, only the hand is left. Now, we already know that Khun is on his way there with Ran and Novik. But what we don't know is that Apple and Michael are members of FUG, helping Rachel climb up the tower. While Khun isn't there, Rachel stages a coup. They kill Goateng, who's the spear bearer. By poisoning him to death, Michael poisons him and keeps dripping medication in his mouth in a sick, twisted manner to say that he's helping him. And they tie up Dan and they leave him on the floor. And basically, Dan asks, "Why are you betraying? Why are you betraying Kun?" So they end up giving the whole story, and they're like, "Yeah, now we're gonna have to kill you because we told you exactly what's happening. We were fun." And after a little bit, Rachel shows up in the room, and she's like, "Why don't you climb the tower with me? You can be my legs. They won't kill you." And then Dan just starts laughing, and he's like, "I should have known. There's no betrayal without the greatest snake of them all, and that's you. Why don't you use your own filthy legs to go up the tower instead of relying on others?" Rachel goes crazy on him, stabs his legs brutally so that he couldn't run as fast as he used to, injures him really badly and leaves him alive. They take his blood and they write F.U.G on the wall. Fun. And that is the end of Rachel being part of a team with Kun. She ends up running away to form a new team to keep climbing the tower. The next thing that we know that happens is what's going to happen at Arlene's hand. So Apple already set up a trap so that they kill Kun, because they actually intended to kill Kun at this point, even though Fug promised not to do that. But this is where things get really complicated. So Ilma basically approaches Viol and he's like, "I've been following you very closely because of what I saw that first day. That red skeleton structure that came out and saved you and healed you instantly. Are you a living ignition weapon?" And Baum says that there's parts of the story that he heard from Ilma that sound familiar to him, but he didn't know anything of it. And Orang basically says, yeah, he knew that Baum wasn't the type of person who'd sacrifice another to gain power. He's definitely not that type of an individual. And he says he has to go and see his friend. He's really sorry he has to leave now. And when he leaves, it ends up playing on Baum's mind, and Baum decides, you know what, I'm going to go after him. I'm going to find out what's going on. Okay, Arlene's hand. Whew. Let's get into Arlene's hand. Let's not mess this up. Whew. Let's calm down. Oh shit, okay. Right, got it. Threat is there. Okay. So, at Arlene's hand, there's already a plot in motion to kill Kun. There's a light bearer named Shia who is sitting in a tent village with her lighthouse available, selling information to regulars. Ilma arrives first, and he ends up buying information as to where Casino is. At this point, he ends up traveling to the hand of Arlene, and he ends up moving in to try and get there, knowing that there's booby traps and he has to move slowly. Kun is on the other side of it with Novik and Ran. Now, as he does this here, they end up moving in to try and get into the hand of Arlene. While they're moving in, the next thing that happens is Novik and Ran run into Ilma. Ilma looks very similar to Casino. The only difference is he's much bigger in size. And they decide to fight Ilma instead of Casino, thinking that he is the real Devil's right arm. Now, he is really the Devil's right arm, but it's not the individual named the Devil's right arm that they're looking for. So anyway, they end up fighting him, and it becomes a massive issue where they end up fighting him for quite a prolonged period of time, and eventually they end up chasing him into Arlene's hand. Now, while they're chasing him into Arlene's hand, Baum is already on his way here. He arrives, he gets Shia to guide him into Arlene's hand. At the same time, Shia before this year had hired a snake individual to kill Kun. And he went and he decided to simply shoot poison through Kun's heart from the back. And he does this here, and Kun looks like he's dead. And he's like, this was the easiest points I've ever made in my life. And he approaches Kun's body to pull everything off him. And Kun grabs a knife and holds it to his neck. And Kun is like, I'm not a light bearer because I'm weak. I'm a light bearer because I like to control people. At this point, this individual decides he's going to spill the beans. He tells him everything that Khun wants to know, and Khun ends up killing him anyway because he was there to assassinate him, and that's the end of this assassin. Now at this point, Khun realizes that he was betrayed. His lighthouse went out because it was hacked, and he has been figuring out how to trace hacks because of what happened to him on the floor of Kess, where Hatsling Khun took over his lighthouse. He figures out what happened, he reverses the hack, he finds out who's the hacker, and he sees it was Appa. Now he doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know that he's been working on the skill, and he decides, you know what, we're going to find out what's going on after all of this is over. Let me go see what these two are up to. They was probably in a trap. And they end up chasing Ilma into the hand of Arlene, where they run into Casanova, and this is where the fight gets really intense. They start fighting each other, and Ran really pushes himself heavy with these grand techniques, and after a little bit, jovial Grace Bomb shows up, and when Bomb shows up, he sees Hureng basically dead on the floor. A very deadly injury cut through him, which was actually done by Casanova. At this point, Novik is like, you know what, this will be too much of a hassle to explain. We were fighting this man, but no, we aren't the ones who killed him. We don't want to go through all of that hassle. We'll just fight you as well. Why not? We'll just kill you one time and get through to the next section. While talking, they end up realizing that this isn't just any easy individual to fight because he's really powerful. He can control 5 Bang, he can copy their techniques, he is unbelievably powerful, and he's wiping the floor with 2 of them at the same time like they're nothing. When I say nothing, I mean like it's an adult playing with 2 kids. He's just wiping them out like a joke. Every time they try to attack or counter attack, he just uses his Shinsu to his advantage and pushes them down. The grand techniques that Ran is using doesn't even stack up against what Bomb is doing. His 5 Bang is insane. His copy ability to use Novik's Crimson Soul Fist is absolutely off the chart. And at this point, Novik is like, we're sorry we didn't say this from the start, and this is quite a bit late in this fight, but we aren't the ones who killed that man. He was killed by the other devil's right arm, who's hiding behind the rubber. Now Bomb knows that the other devil's right arm is nearby, so it seems plausible. And at this point, Khun ends up entering this hand of Arlene. And when this happens, Shia says, everybody stop. This is a message from Fug, the birth of a slayer. And when Bomb sees this here, he looks at Shia and he basically gives a few words that they should back away and get out of here. Basically some easy notes that they should leave. And Bomb tries to act like a bad guy, but Khun can see right through it because he's not really evil, and the way that he speaks isn't even good enough to convince Khun. At this point, this is so hard to explain. At this point, things are really complicated. Bomb can't look Khun in the face because he's afraid of Khun figuring out that he's alive, and if he figures out that he's alive, somebody's gonna die, one of his friends, and he doesn't want it to be Khun. And Shia is threatening to kill his friend, so he needs to find a way to get him out of there without any other problems erupting within this minute situation. At this point, the next thing that happens is Novik and Ran end up taking the detonator out of Shia's hands, and Shia grabs it again and says, fine, you wanted to threaten my Slayer God, I'm going to kill you all for this here. And she ends up pressing the trigger to blow it all up. At this point, Bomb can't handle it and he's like, Mr. Khun, run! Get out of here immediately! He throws his pocket to him, he keeps him under the rubble safely, and he pulls his 2 teammates out of there because he knows if he pulls Khun out of there, they're going to kill Khun. So at this point, all of this chaos has gone down. Fug basically is in a real weird situation with what they're doing. justice. I can't believe how complicated it is. But nonetheless, Fug basically uses this as a propaganda to say they celebrating and making a sacrifice for the birth of the Slayer, the death of one of the Ten Great family members, Kun Aguero Agnes, and this is where things really kick off for the rest of it. So the other team, that Shibisu, Ender Rossi, Anak, are all on floors higher than Bam. They decide they're going to get to the workshop battle and they're going to kill the Slayer. And they're going to do it to avenge Kun. And Kun ends up being picked up by Sweet and Sour. Sweet and Sour find out from Harwin that this was done by another faction of Slayers led by Karaka and Baylord Yama that want to keep Bam under their control. But there's far more going on with the situation, and overall there's two ways that this year will go, since they managed to make a bet between Jinsung Ha and these other two Slayers, along with Grace Mashaya Lazlak joining into this bet basically. So it goes as follows. If Bam tells his old teammates who he is, or if they catch on, they instantly lose. If Bam's teammates win, they can keep Bam with him, even though Bam is so unbelievably powerful. And beyond that, there's a whole lot of things that I explained at that point to what's going on with the bet between Fug and Team Sweet and Sour. So as a part of this here, Arwen tells Kun that he needs to take over Team Sweet and Sour. Him and his last member Dan, who's just healed up from being stabbed in the feet, are going to actually end up joining in Sweet and Sour. They're going to climb up the tower together. They're going to take part in the workshop battle on the 30th floor. They just have to pass a battle the day before the workshop battle so that they can qualify. And they end up qualifying and they're entering into this whole situation. And we see that Kun isn't used to working with such inferior teammates. Sweet and Sour is nowhere near a good enough level to actually be worthy of someone like Bam. And Kun even thinks to himself, he understands why Fug did what they did. This isn't a good enough team for a Slayer. They need something better, something more substantial, something that says Slayer. Now, at this point, the Team Sweet and Sour with Wagner in it ends up devising a plan to actually take on the workshop battle. They have to win. And their plan is pretty simple. They'll go in with Kun's training, everything, and they'll take it over. The next episode that you're going to be hearing from me is the workshop battle. We'll start with episode 1. Event number 1, one shot, one luck, or whatever it's called. And we'll keep moving from there till we have all of the situations explained together. So anyway, this is where we are in the story. Everybody has finally advanced to the 30th floor. Kun is leading Team Sweet and Sour. Bam is in a Fug team that has to take part in the workshop battle. If he throws a match, they'll kill his friends. If he works his hardest and loses against them, it's the only time he gets to go back to his teammates, and they're also safe at the same time. So it's kind of complicated and things are really, really perplexing because his old friends want to kill him for Kun. And there's a ton more to explain as we go through the workshop battle. So I hope that you all do keep enjoying this series as much as I have. See you all then. Have a good day.